It's the Kevin Mandeville Show, live here on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Give us a subscribe at kevinmandeville.com/newsletter. Also, smash the subscribe button down below here on YouTube. You'll get notifications when we go live on air. Today, I am tearing down popular emails from the inbox over the past month in January 2019. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to kick things off today going over an email that I got a lot of questions about after my last video for popular emails in December. And this was about Nest Black Friday email. So this one is actually kind of a repeat from the email Nest did last year in 2017. If I can just pull up the 2017 one. What this is a full interactive shopping cart experience directly in the inbox. So last year they did 4 products, as you can see here. And this year they beefed it up even more. And they've got 6 products across 2 rows. So how this works is it's using interactive email. It's using checkboxes, and it essentially allows you to add to cart. And you'll see down below towards the bottom here, it updates the quantities that you have selected along with the pricing. And so it's able to increase the quantity count as you check or uncheck the items. And then the pricing is using CSS counters to calculate this dynamically and in real time, depending on however many products that you have. So it's really cool because it'll show you the quantity amount number and how much that costs with an individual product, on top of showing you the savings and the actual total along with any shipping. And it's cool because you can select not just the product, but you select the color and everything. And then it just leads you and directs you to the landing page, which will have all of this pre-populated for you. And you can essentially just check out right from there, either if you want to log in or just input your credit card details. So this has always been, the Nest is starting to do this every year now. This has always been one of the best emails every single year. I mean, just the sheer interactivity is really cutting edge. The Nest team does a great job. So special shout out to the people I know of, Eric and Jonathan over there. I know there's a few others who I don't know, but them especially working on this, they do a really good job. So this is one of the best interactive experiences. And what I think really shows the value of interactive email with reducing friction in the inbox and making it easier for users. So other things to note about this. So let me just pull up my inbox really quick on my phone to show you, because on mobile, what happens, let me just show on desktop. You can see it when you add, it gets shown down below towards the bottom of the products. But if I resize this to mobile, you'll see that for mobile, there's actually a sticky bar navigation down at the bottom. And so if I open up my old mobile app here and show you, as you scroll down the email, it's like a fixed sort of footer, which is a really cool technique they used here, because this isn't possible with using position fixed anymore in iOS Mail, as it's not supported. So essentially what they're doing is just setting a max height on the content of the email. And then for this particular pricing footer here, they're making it sticky by making it act as sort of a display table and making the overflow visible with it. And so this sort of is able to overlay on top of the rest of the div, which has a max height and an overflow of scroll. And so it does maybe feel a little bit different because it doesn't stay fixed. It sort of has a weird positioning kind of effect as you scroll. It feels a little parallaxy with the scroll. So it might be a little unfamiliar with users, or it feels a little jarring. And yeah, I do have an iPhone SE, so you're going to have to deal with my small height for the demo purposes here. But it's really cool. It creates a better experience in my mind, and it still feels just as cool. You're able to add to cart here and just see everything right in view. So the mobile view, at least for iOS Mail where this is supported, works really well. And then and again, this interactivity, it's only going to work in WebKit. So Apple Mail, iOS Mail, environments that support WebKit. And then for the fallback, all that it does is instead of having add to cart, it looks exactly the same. So if I just come here and open up Outlook to show you, it's just going to have a buy now button instead of an add to cart button with all of that interactive functionality. And so that's just a really smart fallback. The email looks the same. The interactivity component is just pure enhancement. Just some other quick notes about the email. This full hero image here, I love the little animation they add with the Nest thermostat. I would have liked to have seen just that thermostat maybe cut out for the animation, because it's this entire image is a full animated GIF. Maybe I would have liked to have seen just the cutout. But again, one of the considerations with an email like this is there's so much CSS and so much interactivity that you really have to be mindful of your HTML file size to get under the Gmail clipping limit. And then another trend, which is going to be a big thing for all the emails we go over today. This email doesn't use semantic markup for the text. It's using just styled table cells to control the display of the text. And so one of my big things today, a big theme, is please use semantic markup where possible. Again, this could be something too where this email is so unique with how large it is in terms of the interactivity it needs to fit. You may have to cut some corners to get under the file size, including, removing things like heading tags, paragraph tags, things of that nature. But just a really, really awesome email. I always look forward to seeing what Nest is doing every year with their interactive Black Friday emails like this one, but they also just do a bunch of cool ones. So definitely subscribe to Nest emails in their newsletter if you haven't. Next email up from Vimeo, talking about top 18 hits of 18. I'm going to kind of go over a bunch of like year end or year in review or 2019 themed emails for this month of January. This email hits you right away with a very visually grabbing, attention grabbing animated GIF up at the top, talking about their top 18 hits. Again, just as I had mentioned with Nest, this email, this header here, top 18 hits in this paragraph, it's not using semantic markup. It's just using styled text. So again, just an enhancement, I think, would be to actually use semantic markups. Even if it lives inside of a table cell, you can do that. But the design of this email looks fantastic. The way that they're able to color block everything, they're able to use strong headlines with colored sections and strong imagery for each one. It's really just an easy, scannable email. The use of color is fantastic. I love the design, the layout of it. And even if you scroll down here, you get to number 12. It just hits you with a subtle animation of this dog. So again, just the whole layout is very engaging, enticing the entire way. I think it would have been interesting to make this even wider. Maybe if you even went full width, perhaps on at least for desktop, it might have been interesting to see the effects to play around maybe a bit more with the layout. But I thought it was very, very well done. One of the best uses of color I've seen in an email in a while. If we resize this to be mobile, you'll see it just does sort of a standard one column stack for the layout. So that works. One thing that I did notice when I looked at the previews of the screenshots, if I open this up in Outlook for Windows on the desktop, you'll take a look at their core call to action buttons. You'll notice that it doesn't have as much padding as it does for your typical browser view. And so they're actually only using just a single anchor tag element. They're not doing any crazy bulletproof button markup for their button, which I actually like nowadays. I'm only using single anchor tag links, anchor tags myself. But what you can do to make it appear more like a button here, as opposed to it sort of being collapsed, is you can use MSO dash border dash alt on the button. And if you give it just a different or the same border color, and then give it an 8 pixel, it has a maximum 8 pixel value that it supports. But if you use that CSS, it'll actually increase the border for you in Outlook. So that's what I'm doing, to where I'm not having to use tables for my buttons, but it still gives a little bit more an appearance of padding. If you're having to use buttons with gradients or background images, there's no way around it. You'll have to use a bulletproof background approach. But if you're just doing a solid color approach like Vimeo is using here, you could just do something like that. Another sort of year in review email comes from Lyft. This one was shared by my boy, Dan Denny. And this is another one that has a really good use of animated GIFs, starting right up at the top of the header. And they're using more illustration styles here. So the illustrations are really on point, top notch, very well done, like you can see here. Again, as I've mentioned with the previous emails, this email is not using semantic markup with its text. It's just using styled table cells. So that could be an enhancement to use for this particular email. But the actual design of it, the visual hierarchy and typography is very, very well done. And again, similar to the Vimeo email, it's using this color blocking type of approach. But it's cool because instead of using more actual photography and imagery, this uses illustration. And you can see that it's a little bit more of a condensed type of design. It's not as large as the Vimeo design. So everything's a little bit more in view, an interesting approach. But it's cool because they're kind of doing this odd, even S-curve type of design for 2x1 column, but the right-hand column has 2 rows, then the left-hand column has 2 rows. And so that's very achievable with using a table-based sort of approach for your layout structure. So this email it looks really good. Very interesting data. This is a great use of personalization and data. So, it's cool that you're able to see them personalize some data like top lift car color, number of cities you took rides in, but it's still going to fit within the design. It's not going to break, but they also have just sort of standardized stats as well. Like Lyft helped 100,000 riders register and get to the polls on election day. And I like it because this isn't using images for any of this data, right? This is actually being injected with actual HTML text. Again, I would be annoyed if I saw that this email was using images for this dynamic data as well, because there really is no need for it. It's not being updated in real time per se, as this is just looking back for 2018 stats. So that's done. The interesting thing to note, when you resize this down to mobile, and not all the way down to the full mobile view, but you'll start to see if you sort of get to a little bit larger view, maybe more like a tablet kind of view, the responsiveness sort of breaks down a little bit. And you'll see for these sections here on like the all Lyft rides, the airport rides, they don't all go to 100%. So something's breaking down. I wasn't able to easily debug the responsiveness, but if you look at the email previews, you'll see that if you just go all the way down to a pure mobile view in the browser, it looks fine. But if you come and you look at the actual render tests in even just iOS, you'll see that it's not stacking to a typical 1x1 column layout. So this is a case here to where there should be more actual render testing done in the email clients, because even in iOS where responsiveness should be working, it's not. So I think that my guess is, I wasn't able to completely debug the entire thing. My guess is there's some auto scaling and sort of email client fixes that it has in there that's messing up scaling or responsiveness. But this is a good case just to show you should test with email clients before it gets sent out, because what you see in the browser isn't going to be replicated in email clients all of the time. All right, our next email comes from Shutterstock, and this is a really cool email. This was taking a look at creative trends for the year ahead, and if I can just scroll and show you this email, it's taking full direction in artwork. If you click on the core CTA of the 2019 Creative Trends landing page that they have. So all of the art, design, and direction landing page, which is I think is something we should all strive for. So that was really well done. All of these areas here are using VML and a bulletproof background approach for this imagery. So it's very well done here. It looks clean. It looks smooth for an email. Again, like the previous emails, it's not using semantic markup. It's using styled text in the TD. So I would update and fix that. I'm assuming Shutterstock's just sort of operating off old templating language. One of the things I notice about Shutterstock here is that if you just hover over all of this, the text areas and the core sections, I notice that they're all clickable. And the reason for this is that they place an anchor tag around all of these tables. I'm assuming perhaps that they're doing this because they found an increase or an improvement in performance and engagement on clicks for this. I personally don't like this practice. This is probably something that's up for debate in the email community, but I don't believe that headlines or paragraphs in email should be clickable. I only believe that the actual call to actions should be clickable. So I would only link the actual buttons, the actual anchor tags here, and not the entire text section, which, by the way, in Outlook, that would create issues and problems if you were to not make any enhancements for that particular environment. So you'll run into just rendering support issues there anyways, if you just handle that out of the box. An interesting approach they use for this particular email too is it's not completely responsive, it's adaptive. So you'll see if you go from desktop to mobile, it jumps to a fixed view. And I would actually say that I'm okay with this approach. Typically, I would say it should be responsive, but given the art direction of this particular email to where you have a little bit more unique, the artwork's a bit more unique in terms of its layering and perspective, and you could run into issues with it overlaying on top of or behind the content of the text and the copy. So in this case, given how sort of complex the design is, I understand why this particular email would use an adaptive approach. Otherwise, though, if you're using something like solid colors or simpler designs that maybe didn't take up the full width of a background to where it was interacting with the text as well, I would say you should definitely go responsive. But I understand the use case, and I would say this is actually a good use case for being adaptive as well. One thing too, because I forgot to do this for a couple of them, but if I toggle images on and off, for Shutterstock here, you can see they're using nice alt text for images that don't display, but since a lot of these are using background images here, it's not showing. Let me jump back to the Lift email just ever so quickly. Toggle images here. You'll see their header and their hero image is not using alt text. That's a missed opportunity. So, use alt text when appropriate. Use it to reinforce your logo, your brand name. Use it for hero images to better describe it, or to even do something more interesting. I think like even something in the Nest email, it would have been really, really hard. But you could even do something, because the Nest products are so circular in shape. You could even maybe do some cool circular alt text if you didn't want to do anything descriptive. Even just having an empty alt attribute is better than having no alt text at all. So at least do that. And then the Vimeo one, they did very accessible alt text. It wasn't styled at all. Fandom, just rock your email geek fandom. It's apparel for email geeks. Everything from t-shirts, hats, sweaters, going live. And I'm going to start sharing stuff today. So be sure to check that out. All right, 2 more emails to go over. This next one is up from Duolingo. This one is around 2019 and trying to entice you to learn a new language. And I love how simple this email is. The white space in this email is just awesome. And so you can just see it's their simple brand logo at the top, a lovely illustration, hero illustration, and then you just have great typography, visual hierarchy with the call to action here at the top. And just look at how, if I scroll down, just how breathable it is, how simple it is. The footer is on point. It has social icons down at the bottom, and then all the different languages you could want to start learning right here. This is just a great email that goes to show you don't need to do something crazy all the time. Simple really wins here. And unlike all the other emails that I had shown previously, I have to give props to the Duolingo team for actually using semantic markup for their text. So this headline here of join 300 million learners is actually using an H1 tag. The make a resolution you can keep is actually using a paragraph tag. So they're nested inside of table cells, but they're still using those semantic tags and that semantic markup to improve accessibility. So that looks great. If we resize this email down, you can see it's nice and responsive. And it even has a little separate views. It even goes, especially for the language area, you'll notice it goes from that 3-column to 2-column to 1-column. So that was really cool how that worked out. It's a really well-coded email. When you look across all the email clients for its rendering, it was very well coded. If I toggle images to be off, though, again here, you'll notice that they aren't using alt text on their images. So this is what the email looks like with images off. It ironically uses alt text for all the flags that it used in the language area. But for the hero section and even the sub call to action section, it's not. So that's a missed opportunity to have additional branding or additional context for the content that you're looking at. So use alt text and style it, especially for something like this to where you have 2019. I mean, this hero image here could just be a huge 2019 with alt text, and it could even be styled to be that same color of this yellowish orange as well. You could even, if you wanted to, you could even slice that image up, because I know that the 2019, the 2 and the 1 is a 1 yellow color and the 0 and the 9 is an orange. You could even slice up that image and then do different colors for each alt text font style if you wanted to get that wild with it. An interesting point around this choose a language to start learning. So this is actually a full link because it's using, a table-based design to create that 2-column layout for the flag and then the respective country. This is one of those areas where it's really hard. I know I like to say I don't like linking an entire area, but since this is sort of a button in of itself, this is always one of those tricky parts in email. So I understand wanting to link this full button here. I'd say this is a use case because you're using a visual component. There's not too many ways around this for poor rendering email clients like Outlook, unfortunately, apart from, again, just linking the individual sections, but then you don't have a full clickable button. So you could do things to where you could have a separate Outlook fallback or a separate progressively enhanced button. It's really up to you how you want to go about it. But this is one of those gotchas in email to where you sort of have to choose a use case. And I would just go down to wherever your audience is the most to optimize for that. But this was a very nice looking email from Duolingo that I got in my inbox. And the last email of the day coming from Trello. Trello's always had good emails. Even after their acquisition, they always sort of stand out in the inbox. They always have a great use of color and illustration. So you can see they always typically have their iconic blue color as a background here. They always have that as a staple in their emails. You can see here they use great illustration for the imagery, really good visual hierarchy with the text, good contrast with the colors you can see with the button and then even the links or the bolded fonts. And then even the sort of the sub at the very bottom, the footer call to action block here on downloading Trello for iOS, Android desktop, and more. That's just a great use of contrast there. And in making it a secondary area, but it still sticks out, still stands out without being the dominant element on the page. That's just, I've always admired and appreciated Trello with how they handle their emails in this manner. Now, breaking down this email a little bit, it was interesting to note that this is, I would say, definitely more of an outdated type of email for how it was built and coded. It's using a lot of old practices and methods. You'll notice that it's not responsive at all. So this is sort of using a mobile aware type approach because the desktop view and design is pretty large. It's going to look at least readable on mobile, and it's a nice experience on desktop. But if you open it up on a mobile app, you'll see that it's just got a scaled sort of down approach as opposed to being a mobile optimized one. It looks okay. Again, because it's big enough, it's okay. again, I would like to see some responsive improvements because you can see how the padding isn't necessarily ideal on mobile. That could be fixed a little bit more. You could stack the imagery and make the text and font larger, easier to read. The other thing on mobile too, I would point out is that there is just a large amount of space at the top for the header in iOS and some other clients. So I think that's an area to where that header area could be condensed. And there's really no need on mobile for bad email clients for rendering clients like iOS Mail to have a view in browser link. That's really just taking up unnecessary space. So it's something that I would hide there. Another thing too on the rendering front, you'll see down at the bottom for this download the app section, there is this little bit of space at the bottom. You'll see there's this little gap from this illustration of the smartphone. The reason for this being is that display block is not being applied on the image. So if you just add display block to this particular image, you eliminate that gap. So that's one of those fixes. So again, this email could definitely use an overhaul on how it's built. It could be mobile optimized a bit more, bring the coding standards up a bit more. But in terms of the actual design for desktop, it's very visually engaging, visually appealing. It has great use of hierarchy and great use of contrast as well. So those are below. Tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Mandeville. Just hit me up. I'm around. I'm available. I'd love to break down some emails and let you know how things are done, what they could do to improve. So yeah, and let me know what you think about the format of how I'm doing these teardowns, how you like it. If you'd like to see me do something different, I'm trying to improve. And emailtees.com. Rock some email tee swag. Valentine collection coming next Thursday, January 31st. All right, email geeks. Stay strong.